This is Lori Grenier. You've seen me on Shark Tank hearing pitches from small businesses. Now, there is a new way for small businesses to get a loan in minutes. It's called Cabbage. That's Cabbage with a K. Just fill out the application online. You'll get an instant decision and could have access to a line of credit of up to $100,000. No waiting, no hassle. Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and is a Forbes Top 100 company. Go to Cabbage.com, that's Cabbage with a K, Kabbage, or call 888-CABBAGE.
We're coming to you from the DraftKings.com podcasting studios. DraftKings.com, America's one-day fantasy sports site, where it's like a new season every time you play. DraftKings.com.
Now, the right time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNRadio.com.
Some of y'all like to watch Thursday night football rather than enjoying the wonderful sports entertainment that is the right time with Bomani Jones, right? And look, if that's how y'all want to get down, I guess it ain't my place to tell you what to do, right? But we were over here working hard. Hard, I tell you, hard. And then at 11 o'clock we got off, and the football game was still going on. So I figured, hey, you know what? Why don't I check out something not nearly as entertaining as my own radio program now that my radio program is off? It'll help me get to sleep. So I go and I get to Thursday Night Football, and as we were on the air, it was basically Peyton Manning throwing up a bunch of ducks, but the game got close, and I saw it in time to see the Chiefs take a 24-17 lead. Shannon? I then saw the Broncos move down the field with Peyton looking awful until suddenly he didn't. And then the kickoff goes to the Chiefs, and they run it out, and there's about 30-something seconds left, and I'm like, well, their quarterback is Alex Smith. Time to take a knee. Right. And as I was about to type out a tweet about them taking a knee, they ran the draw play. I'm like, okay, they don't expect Alex Smith to throw the ball down the field. So they run the draw play, and Jamal Charles makes a couple moves, and then Jamal Charles puts the ball on the ground, and then it goes the other way, and it's a touchdown, and then I begin laughing.
And it's just a second fumble of the game, correct?
Second fumble of the game. Now, he had been beasting, outside of the little turnover situation. But I spent a significant amount of time laughing at that. Like, how you, at your own crib, no less.
Now, if you're gonna run the clock, take the knee, right? That's what conventional wisdom tells you to do, especially if you don't have a strong arm quarterback. Take the knee, right?
But the dilemma was Andy Reid thought they could get down there in the field goal range. He thought Jamal Charles could get him there. Because really, any other quarterback, 30-something seconds is enough time to run a couple plays and try to get down the field. But they don't have any other quarterback. They got Alex Smith, so they gave the ball to Jamal Charles. And, of course, today on sports television and various platforms, I know this because I was on a sports television show today, we discussed whether, whose fault is it, right? Is it on Andy Reid? Is it on Jamal Charles? And for me, it's a no-brainer it's on Andy Reid. All day long on Andy Reid. Now, the argument for it's on Jamal Charles is the obvious one. Jamal Charles fumbled. You can't fumble in that situation. Well, I don't think it's like he tried to. It wasn't like that was his plan. He carried the ball in such a way that could lead you to believe that that's what he was looking for. But I don't think that when he broke out the huddle, he was like, watch, I'm going to go over here, and then I'm going to be all loosey-goosey with it, and maybe they run it back the other way.
I bet Alex Smith told him not to score in that play. That's exactly what that was.
Let me tell you what happened. Jamal Charles did what Jamal Charles has done since he was in college. He fumbled. He's been a fumbler basically forever. He didn't break out at Texas until his junior year, right? And he was a Willie Parker case. Remember how Willie Parker didn't get any burn in North Carolina? And after he got into the NFL and did some things, everybody was like, I can't believe they were so dumb. How did he not get any burn? He fumbled. Once you establish as a running back that you fumble, you got to be really good to overcome that. It just so happens that Jamal Charles is really, really good. But between 2012 and 2014, Jamal Charles fumbled 14 times.
It's a lot.
Right, pretty much all the guys that have more fumbles than that are quarterbacks. Dudes who get hit when nobody's looking. This is what he does. So if you got a running back that fumbles, you can't be out here drawing. What do you think he's going to get, a 50-yard draw play?
Well, they always say that he's one of these players that can take it to the house on any given play, right?
Yeah, that's just something we say on TV, man.
He wasn't actually supposed to do it.
Like, you don't develop no mantra around that. Like, all you're supposed to do with that is, when we give him the ball, he might score a touchdown. Like, you don't make any decisions based on he might hit for 80. No, you're just happy when he hits for 80. Like, as a defensive coach, you make decisions based on the fact that dude can hit for 80. But you're not he's not the one-man, 2-minute drill. Like, he isn't that. It can't be that. Woo, I can't imagine how salty Kansas City fans were after that one, dogs. It looked like they had it. It looked like they had it. Then what happens? What seems to happen all the time when the Chiefs come up against a Peyton Manning-led team. He had 3 touchdowns. They caught an L.
And this was big for Kansas City as well, because the talk going into this was that this is a different year for Kansas City. They want the division. It was a big game. The crowd was into it throughout, regardless of how porous the offensive play was. And it's unfortunate for them that the game had to come down to this, and it was their own fault.
Yep, it was. But as much as it's on Jamal Charles is not getting the ball there if they got a quarterback they feel like they can count on. Like, Alex Smith, I have long said that Alex Smith is a mascot for the mediocre. All right? Now, Alex Smith is not a bad football player. But do you know how many passes he threw that were over 5 yards in the air in that game?
How many?
7. 5 yards. 5 yards, Shannon. 5 yards. Dan said that on TV today. It blew my mind. Right.
Wow.
That's insane. Jeremy Maclin, I mean, he got to be looking at this like, dog, what did he's this year's Dwayne Bowe just out here running wind sprints.
The check cleared, though, right?
The check did clear.
Okay.
The check did clear. Like, it is worth noting that the check did clear, but he's still out here running wind sprints. Like, he ain't going to get no fulfillment or self-actualization out of that one unless he just really likes bubble screens.
All right, so I'm a little bit confused. All right, so if you're going to say anything critical about Alex Smith, which fan base comes at you? Is it San Francisco still, or is it Kansas City? Because I get confused.
It's mostly the University of Utah. Yeah, University of Utah fans. Like, even as they were not winning the game last night, I was hearing from fans at the University of Utah. It never fails. Like,
10 years ago.
But it's so crazy because for so long, nobody would say anything good about Alex Smith. He had that one good playoff game against the Saints, and he was good, and he nailed it with that run around the end, and then the next week they couldn't convert a third down. Last night, by the way, Chiefs couldn't convert a third down. Why not? Because they got a quarterback who can't throw the ball far. It's simple as that. He just can't throw the ball far. Or if he can, he simply refuses to. Like, that's the guy that's the guy that Kansas City has. And you can win some games with him, and there'll be some games where he looks like he's really, really good, but he is so severely limited where the Chiefs wound up in a tricky situation. If the rest of your team looks okay, then you're stuck with a quarterback like Alex Smith. Like, you can't just say we're going to draft one and we're going to take our lumps. You can't. When you got Jamal Charles, when you got Justin Houston, when you got Tom Bahali, when you got Derrick Johnson, you can't do that. You can't, because the rest of the team is just too close. You cannot do that. And keeping that other stuff together is really difficult to do. So you're a team like the Chiefs, you double down on Alex Smith. You extend Alex Smith. Then Alex Smith makes something like $15 million or something like that. Because you just can't assume that you can go get somebody else. You have to trick yourself into it every year. As long as Alex doesn't make any mistakes, I think we've got a really good chance. You'd be better off if you made more mistakes. Because the whole game plan of I'm just not going to make mistakes, how the saying go, Shannon? Scared money?
Makes no money.
Scared money don't make none. That ain't how it works. Scared money don't make none. And Alex Smith is the walking embodiment of scared money. And when your quarterback is the walking embodiment of scared money, you got to give the ball to Jamal Charles, who fumbles. Because that's your best chance at making a play 20 yards down the field. That's what you have to do. So, yeah, this is on Andy Reid. Don't get me wrong. He should have just taken the knee. But if he thought there was time to get into field goal range, he would have done it with his quarterback if he thought his quarterback was capable of doing such things. His quarterback is incapable of doing such things.
The Cowboys with Romo wouldn't have ran the ball there if they felt like they had a chance to score.
No, but then he still might have thrown the ball away. I mean, I guess they won last week, but he ain't turned into a whole new person, did he?
But you said scared money don't make no money, right?
That's true. But let's be clear also. A little bit of scared ain't the worst thing in the world. A little bit of scared stop you from dying.
A little bit of caution, huh?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Bomani.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the right time. So we talked about last night's football game, the one between the Chiefs and the Broncos, the one where Von Miller tried to... Bro, what was that? Shannon, why you get that look on your face? What was that?
I don't know. Was it time for the percolator? What was that?
I don't know. You a Kappa. Y'all do that at the step shows. All he was missing was a cane and some whipped cream.
He thought he was battling somebody. I don't know what that was.
Dude, like, what would you do if, like, you locked eyes with Von Miller and at that moment he did that thing where he was thrusting his pelvis and making his booty clap?
Well, I wouldn't be looking at his eyes. Like, I wouldn't be staring at him like that.
Dude, but just imagine, you just happen to, like, glance and he looks at you, and then that's what he does. Like, what can you do? Like, was he looking at the crowd or was he looking at somebody in particular? Because, Von Miller was wilding. Shannon, why you looking at me like that?
He's like that guy in the club or the party who's having a little too much fun. You're going to get us kicked out of here. Chill out.
I'm surprised he didn't get 15 yards for that one.
Right, exactly. If it was college football, he would have got a penalty.
Well, let me tell you something, too. There was some dude who was watching the game sitting next to his wife feeling mad insecure at that very moment. Mad insecure. All right, 888-729-3776 is the telephone number. So, we were doing a radio show last night while the game was going on. And, we got to do this show on two levels now because it's the 21st century. So shout out to all y'all who are listening to us live. But also we want to pay consideration to the people who in the mornings are listening to us, listening to the show we do at night to get them ready for the next day, the podcast audience, So like we living live, but also I got to be prepared for the fact that the game will be over after this hits the internet for the people, right? So Peyton Manning's looking bad according to all the statistics because that's all I'm doing because I'm doing the show at the time and I see the numbers and he's looking bad. And I'm like, hey, Peyton Manning is done. Peyton Manning is done. Peyton Manning is done. Peyton Manning threw 3 touchdowns. Or 4 if you count the pick 6. The pick 6 count.
They made it to the end zone, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, there you go. 4 touchdowns for Peyton Manning. Not quite touchdown passes, but touchdowns nonetheless. And, they won that game, and they're going to be able to win some games with Peyton Manning, but none of this changes the fact that he's done. None of it. He can't get the ball down the field. Like, there was one point, I looked at that game, and there were, between those two quarterbacks, 3 passes total that went more than 20 yards. Total. And I don't mean 20 yards in the air, my dude. I mean just 20 yards by the time it was all said and done. Wow. The longest pass that Peyton Manning completed in that game, Shannon, 22 yards. 22 yards.
I'd be curious to see how long was that ball in the air. Like, how many yards did it go in the air?
Oh, I thought you were going to say seconds, because seconds would have been an appropriate measure for how long it was in the air. Man, Demaryius Thomas, I think he must have been a basketball player. He must have played power forward in high school, because a whole lot of those plays, he just got to box dudes out. Like, I mean, that's what it's going to require. That ball is taking forever to get there. All he can do, and you saw it, trying to box dudes out, those balls getting tipped and almost turned. There were at least 2 passes that were almost intercepted and went back the other way because the box out could only go but so far.
Demaryius Thomas is the new Sean Kemp. He's just out here catching lobs.
Dog, that's it. That's it. I mean, that's all that there is for him. He is DeAndre Jordan of the NFL right now because all he can do is box out and go for it. Because, look, he's another dude that'll be running wind sprints this year if he's trying to go long. Because, look, Peyton can't get it there. Peyton's trying. He's trying to time these passes, and they're being overthrown. Like, he can make the ball get there, just not with any relation to anything else, with, like, timing and routes and stuff. He just can't. And it's crazy to see. Because, like I said last night, we have to give him more credit. I don't think he's got nearly enough credit for how impressive he's been the last couple of years, given the fact that he can't really throw the ball.
He's made it work somehow.
Like, it's amazing that he's been able to do it. Because, look, you can look at him. Even on that last drive, those balls were fluttering in the air. Like, they were taking forever to get there. And you can talk to me about how he's more comfortable in the shotgun and under center it and working and all of that. That is entirely possible, ladies and gentlemen. But even in the shotgun, those passes were taking a minute to get there.
Now, let me ask you, are we comparing Peyton Manning to the Peyton Manning of old, or are we just comparing him to his contemporaries? For example, Tom Brady, we know he's lost a little bit on his deep passes. We get this, but he's still a very, very effective quarterback.
Right.
Are we comparing? Is that what we're comparing Manning to, or are we comparing Manning to the Manning of old?
Well, let's ask this: can Manning be Tom Brady, who can go out there and complete 65 to 70% of his passes, hitting those guys running those little short routes? Can Peyton Manning do that? Because I'm not sure. Like, I'm not positive that he can do that. And also, Tom Brady's got Gronk. Now, that would be something interesting to see. What if Peyton Manning had Gronk, who's just absolutely uncoverable?
And he had Thomas last year.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how Tom Brady looked without Gronk, right? So that's an interesting question to ask, because Demaryius Thomas is really good. Like, there's no questioning whether or not he is good. But what if Peyton had that guy over the middle? Like, if Julius Thomas had left in free agency, how much would it help him? I think those are fair questions to ask. But even in those last couple of years, man, them Ducks, whack, 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 whack. Like, you just can't deny it. You just have to give them the credit for what gets done. But once you separate the narrative and separate the name from it, there are a lot of quarterbacks that y'all love to savage, even when they win because they look bad. Peyton Manning is no better than those guys. But you know what's got to be scary? Well, not scary to me, but scary if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. He's still better than Alex Smith. He's still better than Alex Smith. That is what is insane about this. Even with his arm being the way that it is, he can still get the ball down the field better than Alex Smith did. That's what we learned late in that game last night. He can still get the ball down the field better than 31-year-old Alex Smith can. That, ladies and gentlemen, is insane. Because Peyton's cooked, man. He's cooked. Like, I think they could probably win a decent number of games this year because their defense is really, really good. And I think that people are making the argument that with that defense being good, if Peyton can just minimize mistakes because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, they'll be fine. And that sounds fantastic. But while Peyton Manning, I think, is still better than Alex Smith, he's kind of a rich man's Alex Smith right now. Is that fair to say?
Oh, no, absolutely. Except with the big name, and I know he took a little bit of a pay cut, but he's still getting paid, right?
Yeah, he's still getting paid. But if you're a rich man's Alex Smith, you're not a team that we go win a Super Bowl with. I don't care who your defense happens to be. Like, the defense can't just be good. Like, I think that people like to throw the argument out there that Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson were quarterbacks that won Super Bowls, but their defenses weren't just good. Their defenses were all-time good. Like, the 2000 Ravens might be the greatest defense of all time. The 02 Bucks, that whole run of defenses is one of the greatest defenses of all time. It's not just we could put a very good defense out here or one of the best defenses in the NFL this year. You got to have one of the best defenses of all time. Like, that's what it took to win a Super Bowl with Jim McMahon. You go through all the list of those quarterbacks that aren't that good, it wasn't really a kind of good defense. The young Tom Brady, those were really, really, really good defenses.
And if you just look at the nominations for the Hall of Fame that came out this week, look how many guys from the Patriots defense are on that list.
Oh, really? I didn't even bother.
Ty Law, Laurie Malloy, Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis.
How many of them are going to make it? I'm guessing 0.
I'd imagine Ty Law will make it eventually.
Maybe. I have no idea, like, how these things wind up going. But 888-729-3776 is the phone number. We got Cam Stewart to give you NFL picks when we come back. Cam Stewart, trust me, he's a lot of Canadian fun. It's ESPN Radio, ESPN app. Welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, including our next guest. You can find him all over the place. He does podcasts, he does fantasy sports, and with us, he does picks. Coming to us live from Toronto, Ontario. His name is Cam Stewart. Cam, what's going on?
What's going on, Bomani? That intro, that's real smooth. I like that.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. You went 4-1 last week with us, man.
Yeah, well, it was awesome, man. I'm going back to Buffalo, Bomani. Oh, there's a fire in Cheektowaga, and the Bills win. I love it, man. I'll tell you something. I love this Buffalo Bills team. Tyrod Taylor did his thing. Buffalo 7-1 ATS. Their last 8 is home dogs. People are going, Cam, you're crazy. I go, New England's coming into town. I'm not that crazy. The Lions will pick them. I'm going to tell you, Bomani, this Buffalo team, I'm really impressed with these guys. New England didn't impress me that much. The first week of the season, let's take a look at that game. Pittsburgh, a couple of missed field goals. They lost momentum in that game. D'Angelo Williams ran wild on them. Buffalo has a three-pronged attack. I love Rex Ryan in this situation. I'm going back to Buffalo again. I told you they're going to beat the Colts last time, and I think the Bills beat the Patriots. I like them to win by about 7 or 8 in this one. They're 1-point dogs.
Now, it's funny. You're not worried about the fact that LaShawn McCoy's got the hamstring problem.
I couldn't care less about McCoy struggling, Bomani. I just want to bet on the Bills. They got Williams there. Tyrod Taylor will do his thing. I think the Buffalo defense is going to suffocate Brady the way they did Andrew Luck in that game. I'll tell you, man, it's a ruckus atmosphere. People don't talk about it. We talked about Arizona last week. It is wild in Western New York. Those Bills fans, they go nuts for that team, and they're going to be foaming at the mouth. Game of the week, Buffalo and New England. I think Buffalo gets it done.
All right, we're talking NFL picks with my man Cam Stewart. All right, Cleveland is up against Tennessee. Tennessee was great last week. How do you think this was going to turn out?
Yeah, that was my game that was wrong, Bomani. Hey, I got to admit, when you're right, it's good to celebrate. Man, was I on the wrong side? I can't believe I took Tampa in that game. They got absolutely smoked. But Johnny Football coming back for Cleveland. They're a couple-point dogs in this game. A wise man told me in the NFL, don't react to the good things week 1 too much. A team's never as good as they look, and a team's never as bad. I'm going to go and take a look at Cleveland. I'll tell you something. Tennessee was fantastic, but this is a whole different animal. They're going into the dog pound. Johnny Footballs, he's confident, he's healthier, and I'll tell you, I actually think he's going to have a good game, and I think the Cleveland defense is going to show up. Tennessee, yeah, they were great 1 week. I love Marcus Mariota. I think he's going to be a great pro, but not this week, not this situation, Bomani. It's going to be a tight one. It's a tight spread, but I'm going to take the points with Cleveland. I think they get it done by 3 or 4.
All right, now how you feeling about Cincinnati and San Diego? The game's a 1 o'clock kick in Cincinnati.
Yeah, Andy Dalton, a redhead like me. No respect, like Rodney Dangerfield. You got to love the situation. -3. It could have been a tough point. They went on the road in Oakland, and that could have been a bad situation for them. A lot of people were high on the Raiders as a tough home dog, but Cincinnati went in there and throttled them. You got to love these situations, Bomani. Teams west going east for that early start. San Diego came back against Detroit. Now they got to go into a hostile environment in Cincinnati. I love Andy Dalton and the Bengals in this spot. I think they win this game by 9 or 10 points. They're only favored by 3. I think they get the cover. The Bengals disrespected at home. Give me Cincinnati.
Cam, you're not letting redhead solidarity get in the way of good sense, man, because you really
No.
for Andy Dalton.
I don't know what Bomani. Andy Dalton's one of those guys. Everyone, in the playoffs, Andy Dalton doesn't do this, doesn't do that. But take a look at the record in the regular season. The guy's a winner, especially at home. And us redheads stick together. We have to, man. But I'll tell you, I love Cincinnati in the spot. Phillip Rivers in San Diego, traveling all that way. It's not a good spot for the Chargers.
All right, we're talking to Cam Stewart doing NFL picks. All right, the Houston Texans got smoked last week by Kansas City. How you feel about them coming in this week?
I like it, Bomani, and I'll tell you, I love the situation, too. You got Hoyer, he's out, Ryan Mallett's in. We liked him in college, and I actually think it's going to be a better option for Houston. If you look at the end of that game, I know it was garbage time, but they came back against Kansas City and made it real interesting when they were getting smoked. As for Carolina, they don't score a lot of points. I don't really trust that team. I could see a low-scoring, grind-it-out affair, so I got to take Houston. I'm getting 3.5, 4 points in this game. Sign me up. Houston gets it done. I think they can win outright. I'm going to take the points, though.
All right, what do you think about Philadelphia and Dallas?
Okay, you know me? Usually these division games, I'm thinking, people are telling me Dallas. This is the one. I think Philadelphia smokes them. I think Philadelphia, they can cover the 4.5 points. They're going to play Dallas. No Des Bryant. I love the situation. People are talking about Sam Bradford and the offense in the first half against Atlanta. What about the second half? Those guys absolutely dominated. They made some horrible calls. Chip Kelly was brutal with his play calling. They should have gone for it on 4th down. They got burned. Not the same mistake this week. It's only 4.5. I like the Eagles to smoke the Cowboys by 11. They're going to cover 4.5.
All right, we're talking to Cam Stewart coming to us live from Toronto, Canada. Chicago did not do so well last week. They got Arizona. You picked Arizona last week to win in the desert, but this game is in Chicago in an early kick.
Yeah, it was nice. Bomani on Twitter, I know I'll follow you. I got a couple fans out in Arizona, they're not going to like me this week, though. I'll tell you, I'm going with the Chicago Bears. That game against Green Bay was closer than anticipated. A couple of mistakes in that one. They were hanging around all day long. Tough spot for Arizona. I love the Cards at the Desert at home, but now they got to go into the Windy City. Weird line movement in this game, too. Arizona was a 3. Now they're only favored by 1.5. I love Chicago in this spot. I think they get it done by 6 points and cover as a small dog. They're 1.5-point pooches. Sign me up. Rough. I love my dogs, Bomani.
All right, we're talking to Cam Stewart. And, hey, for the people, you got anything on the CFL for them?
Yeah, new deal to boot it, buddy. You got a bit on the Canadian Football League. I'll tell you, this league is hilarious. But this week, Bomani, I got a hot pick for you. You wouldn't be calling a crazy Canuck if I didn't give you a Canadian Football League pick. Let's take the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with Mike O'Shea as 10-point pooches against the Montreal Alouettes. I like Winnipeg to keep this game close. I think they might lose by 3. Huge number at 10. I love the Blue Bombers. For all you degenerates out there in Florida, if you can play it and bet on the CFL, take Winnipeg. I think it's a good spot.
Cam, you still hanging out with those dudes on that CFL team you used to hang out with?
Yeah, I'm loving that stuff. Me and Morency were hanging out. I was down the other day having breakfast in Toronto. I ran into Smiling Hank Burris, former star with the Temple Owls. He's playing for Ottawa right now. Great guys in the CFL. They're like, after games, Bomani, these guys will hang out with you, have a drink with you, talk to you. The Canadian Football League players, you just go down and interview them on the field. No need for a locker room.
Cam, when's the next time you going to Las Vegas, man? Because I love the stories that come
I got to get back there soon.
Vegas.
It was actually nice. I had a good week in football last week, so I put some. Me and my girlfriend play a game. It's called When I Get Money, I Give It to Her to put in the envelope because she knows I get a little bit crazy. So we saved up a couple grand, Bomani. I'll probably be there. I'm thinking about a month or two. Visit my buddy Brian Blessing and throw it down on some football games.
I've heard about this girlfriend. I hope she's keeping you out of trouble, Cam.
Oh, she keeps me out of trouble. I keep her out of trouble. We both got our problems. So, yeah, she knows I like to throw it down gambling. So when I'm winning money, let's just put it away for a rainy day.
All right, Cam Stewart, check him out. You can Google the man, but he does podcasts on fantasy sports, and he does picks for us every Friday. One of my favorite people. My man, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Bomani, you're the best, and catch us tonight. Enjoy your show. I'm getting a lot of guys who are tweeting and back tweeting, but we are on the Fantasy Sports Network tonight. Myself, Gabe Morency, and our buddy Brian Blessing from Las Vegas. We're breaking down the college and NFL board. Have a great night, man, and I'll talk to you next Friday.
All right, man. You take it easy.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Shannon Tiger Woods apparently had back surgery.
I like how you dropped that news Friday afternoon.
Yes. He says he's having back surgery, but he'll be back for the 2016 season. Do we still care?
Yeah.
Like, I realize it's kind of counterintuitive to say that as I lead off the segment at the top of the hour and then ask the question as to whether or not we still care. But I still care about this little blip of news. And you know why I still care about this little blip of news? Because Tiger Woods remains the only golfer that I care about. Like, I can acknowledge that Jordan Spieth is really good. I find Rory to be fairly interesting. He seems like my kind of guy. But outside of those cats, man, you start asking people to name these golfers, it gets mad difficult. I can name Ricky Fowler only because he used to get out there dressed like a pimp.
And flat brim hats.
He doesn't wear the pimp orange anymore. I wonder why. I wonder if somebody came and told him, like, look, man, ain't nobody going to take you seriously out here in this get-up. Because that's what he used to play golf in. It was a get-up. It wasn't Puma. Wasn't it like an orange Puma suit? Like, if you're going to get out there and wear all orange and Puma, you might as well wear a Puma suit. You think they let you play golf in a Puma suit? They should let you play golf in a Puma suit. Why not? It's long sleeve. It's formal.
Right.
Yeah. But this news came out about Tiger Woods and his back surgery, and he says he's going to be back. Tiger is the ultimate I feel younger than I have in 15 years guy. Every time he comes back, that's what it is. I feel better than I have in all these years.
My swing feels really good. I've been working out, changing my diet. feeling really good. A lot of energy. I'm focused, and I'm ready to get the season off to a good start.
Yeah, that's him all day. But I tell you, the point I always make about this with Tiger and our hope that he's back or whatever, because he's money for everybody. You know what I mean? He's cash money for everybody. Like, if he comes back, it's cash money for us here talking about it. It's cash money for all the other golfers. That's why everybody's holding on to hope. Like, did you realize that well into the 1990s, the record label was hoping that David Bowie would give them another Let's Dance?
Really?
Let's Dance came out in 1983 and sold a bazillion copies. But well into the 90s, they were just hoping that David would walk in and give them another Let's Dance. You didn't give up when he did 10 Machine. Like, David Bowie's never gone and done the same thing twice ever again anyway. He puts out 10 Machine. That should let you know, ain't gonna be no Let's Dance, right? But they kept holding out hope that maybe one day he'd walk in there and he'd give him Let's Dance. And that's kind of what we're hoping for Tiger to do. We're hoping that Tiger will put on his red shoes and dance the blues. Like, that is what we want him to do. And it just ain't happening. But what I think it points out is our general, as sports fans, misunderstanding of how aging works in golf. Because the assumption that we make is that, well, golf isn't that physically strenuous, it's not a sport, everything else. So you can play golf well into your 40s. Like, you can play golf well into your 40s. You know what else you can do well into your 40s? Play basketball. Like, you can go play, and you might be able to beat some cats that you know, but there's a reason why there's a senior tour, and the senior tour is out there because them old cats can't play with the young cats anymore. They just can't. And so with Tiger, he won those 14 majors before he turned 35. What we did not realize, or what a lot of people didn't realize, only two guys that won multiple majors on both sides of 35. That's Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. Jack Nicklaus, the greatest golfer who had ever played, and Gary Player, who's like Jack LaLanne. You know what everybody here, right? He's one of those dudes that does all the calisthenics. Like, right now, Gary Player is somewhere doing arm circles. Like, he's that dude. You go try to fight Gary Player right now. Gary Player will beat you down. Why? Because Gary Player is in better shape than you. Tiger Woods, there was never a chance for him to be Gary Player. We knew he wasn't in that kind of shape. Like, we just knew it. But guys aren't that good on both sides of 35. And the only way that you continue to hold out hope that Tiger Woods is going to bring it back like that is if you think he's just going to magically become that dude again. So basically what I think we're all just hoping for is the equivalent of Jack Nicklaus in Augusta in 1986. Like, would that be enough if we could just get one dope major out of Tiger? Just one, where we don't think it's going to happen. Maybe it's a charge on Sunday where he's never really done that in a major.
Whose expectations are more realistic for Tiger? The fans or Tiger himself?
I wonder what Tiger expects. I really do, because I do think that part of what's happened here is that Tiger went off and got some perspective about life after his whole situation fell apart, right? But perspective about life is normally not that conducive to athletic success. I think we'd all agree there, right? Like, I mean, I say this as a person who lives a pretty unbalanced life. You know? Like, I mean, doing the things at the levels that he's trying to do often requires you to lack that perspective. It often requires you to be just totally about that one thing. And it seems like he looked around and decided to, smell the flowers and stuff like that. And we're like, hey, dog, you got a chip that you need to make. How about you get out them flowers and you try to get the ball on the green?
Do you ever think it came to a point where, especially after what he went through, that he started questioning himself?
I wonder. I mean, at this point, it's always, not that he hasn't worked hard, but this has probably always been so easy to him, right? And now this is something else. Like, this is a completely different thing. He's torn down his swing. He looked pretty good the last time we saw him play, as I recall.
Are you sure I'm a tiger? I don't feel very much like a tiger.
He's just walking slow through the park.
He just broke up with his girl. And back surgery. Let me tell you something, man. Back surgery. If I can walk without having back surgery, I think I'm going to go without the back surgery. I don't love anything enough to have back surgery to get back to it. I had knee surgery when I was 15 years old. Oh, my goodness. Like, sports make surgery seem like it's not that big a deal. Surgery is a huge deal. Like, those cats, they tell you that cats are coming back from surgery to play ball after 6 weeks. I don't know how they doing that. I couldn't get out of bed for 2.
The term minor surgery does not exist. I'm sorry.
Well, it does when you're talking about other people.
Okay.
Right? Like, you don't have minor surgery. It just comes up when you're talking to other people. Now, we got some dude on hold named Noah in Memphis, and apparently his observation that he wants to make is that Tiger's not going to win another major. My dude, we know that. Like, you ain't got to call the radio station to say that. Like, that's not no dope observation to make. How long has it been? 7 years? 2008 was the last one? And see, to me, the real line in the sand on Tiger's career is that. It's not the driveway situation. It's playing with that broken leg against Rocco Mediate and, winning on Monday. It was an extra hole on Monday, right? That's the line, because that's when we're talking about health. Like, this wasn't just you and your woman had a little dust up and you couldn't get your mind back right. He lost to, was it Y.E. Yang in the PGA playoff after that Rocco Mediate thing. I don't know if you remember that, too. Y.E. Yang was so happy he picked up his golf bag and put it over his head. Tiger looked like he wanted to kick that dude in the chest. Anyway, Tiger Woods just had back surgery. It wouldn't be me. I just go get a bunch of massages. Sunday night, Seahawks, Packers. I'm not sure I'll be able to watch that myself, Shannon. I'll be going to see Janet Jackson in concert.
So you're just going to go ahead and rub that in, huh?
Yep, sure am.
The fact that Janet was here yesterday and last night and I couldn't go because I had to do a certain radio show?
That's right.
Okay.
Now, you could have come down here, but oh well. I'll be going to the show. It look like Janet dancing in a Snuggie these days, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm going to go see Janet Jackson. I'm going to miss this game. How bad did the Packers want to win over the Seahawks? Like, if you're a Packer or a Packers fan, after what happened with the fake referees, you remember when the substitute refs were out there? And the Seahawks basically said the real refs said we could have a touchdown there.
The Fail Mary.
Yeah, there was that. There was the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
That
had
to
the onside
hurt.
kick.
Ooh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Convert the 2-point conversion. And
yeah, it's a lot going on. But this time they got to go to Lambeau, right? Like, this game's going to be in Green Bay. Here's the thing. Does Seattle have a good defense this year? Because they gave up a lot of points to the Rams. So, we're talking about Seattle without Cam Chancellor, which is huge. Like, it really is a big thing. I understand why he thinks he'll be able to get them to budge, because if they're going to run that cover 3 as much as they do, Cam Chancellor can walk down, he can be your linebacker, he can be your safety. He's just a generally frightening sort of dude, right? Like, the idea, I'm going to run a route 18 yards down the field, I'm going to come across the middle. Nah, bro, I'm not going to do that at all, actually. I'm not. Like, he's the hardest player on the team to believe that, like, someone like that exists in the state of nature. Like, he's the hardest guy on that team to believe is real.
Like,
Jimmy Graham.
You don't assume he can cover that much ground. You don't assume, and you can't believe that he can hit that hard.
Right. What do you need that he can't do? And so they gave up 30-something points last week, and offensively, Seattle has problems. Their offensive line is whack. They traded their best offensive line, didn't they, to get Jimmy Graham, best offensive lineman? Russell Okung's in a contract year. I guess that provides him some level of motivation. And, they do that. Tom Cable's the offensive line coach. And, he's got that thing where he likes to take guys that are defensive linemen. Well, yes, he also likes to fight. But he likes to take defensive linemen and turn them into offensive linemen. Like, you remember that dude at NC State who got caught smoking weed in his room that one time?
J.R. Sweezy.
Yep, now he's a defensive tackle at NC State. Now he's an offensive lineman with Seattle. Like, they just don't have very good offensive linemen. Marshawn Lynch, not as young as he used to be. Outside, like, if it's not going to Jimmy Graham, who, oh, by the way, didn't get the ball very much in the last game. He did not get the ball very much. So now they're going against Aaron Rodgers. How do you think that was going to work out?
And a motivated Packers team, like you said, coming off that playoff loss.
A motivated Packers team. And, look, Eddie Lacy, the fact that they have somebody that can run the ball. Like, I've had problems with the Packers in the way that they've chosen to construct this team, because it seems as though they built a team that is not built for home games in January. Like, games in their own stadium. You're going to throw the ball as much as they throw the ball. It doesn't seem like the right way to go. Like, it's in the right direction with the league, but it doesn't change the fact that you guys play on grass in a very, very, very cold place. It ain't going to be cold this week, though. Like, it's not going to be cold at all. Earl Thomas is still out there playing in the harness. You can't forget about that part. It's hard to keep a team together, man. Like, this is a team that we thought would be in contention 4 or 5. They had so many guys and so many of them were young, but now it's time to pay them out. So Richard Sherman's gotten his money. Earl Thomas has gotten his money. Russell Wilson got his money. Michael Bennett wants his money, and he can't get his money. That's part of why Cam Chancellor can't get his money, because if Cam Chancellor gets his money like this, then what do you say when you tell Michael Bennett that he can't have his money, knowing that he signed the contract that he did, expecting to be a part-time player, and now you out here got him running 70% of the snaps. And then you go play a game in Green Bay. It's so easy to wind up down 0-2. And then from there, one team has won the Super Bowl after starting the season 0-2? The Cowboys that year that Emmitt Smith
held out. What? Held out.
Held out. That's right. Like, if they're down 0-2, is that the time where if you're Seattle, you got to cave to Cam Chancellor? Because you know they don't want to. Like, it's one thing to have to cave to an actual star. Cam Chancellor's just good. Like, do you know what Cam Chancellor looks like, Shannon? Like, if he walked in the room right there? Because I would not have any idea. I'd just be like, yo, somebody call the cops. Some big old dude just walked up in here.
Yeah, he'll probably be the biggest dude in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I might recognize him if he wears whatever jacket it was he had on in that picture of Rick Sherman and them where they look like an R&B group. You remember that? They looking there about the Saints, a New Jack Swing. Cats had studs on the jackets. It was jean jackets. It was some leather jackets. It's driving me out of my mind. That's why it's hard for me to find. That's what they look like.
So let me ask you, who's the most important defensive player for Seattle?
Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas is the best defensive player that they have, right? Like, I mean, Earl Thomas can play center field. Earl Thomas can cover. Earl Thomas is always where you need him to be. I mean, he's that guy that you got to remember. Earl Thomas is a dude where if he had decided to be a corner, I don't know if he could have been a Pro Bowl corner, but he could have been an NFL corner if he wanted to. Like, that's how ill that secondary was. That Cam Chancellor, like Brandon Browner was the fourth best player in that secondary when it was Thomas, Chancellor, Sherman, and Brandon Browner. Brandon Browner was number 4. That's how loaded that secondary was. But, man, when you've got a safety that can do linebacker stuff, like just like when you have a linebacker who can do defensive back stuff, like Brian Urlacher was a linebacker who can do defensive back stuff. Levante David in Tampa, when he's playing well, he's a linebacker who can do defensive back stuff. Anytime you can make that 8th man on the box, not in the box, not actually be in the box, it's just a total game changer. And they just don't have that. Like, as much as the scheme with Seattle and the culture that Pete Carroll has and everything else, they just have more players than anybody else. They were loaded across the board. And now Cam Chancellor's doing something I didn't even think cats were going to do anymore. I thought the holdout had become antiquated. $30,000 fine a day for holding out and then the game checks? And he's still doing it? Serious question, Shannon. How much money does he expect to get?
At some point, you gotta come down from your number, right?
You would think. But you know what happened if you go talk to Cam Chancellor about it right now? You know what he would say? It's the principality of the situation. I assure you, anytime somebody goes to talk to Cam Chancellor about this, it always goes back to the principle. It's the principle. Normally, Shannon, when I'm saying that it's the principle, I'm in the process of fighting a losing battle. That's normally how it goes. Like, think about it in your life, all the times you've had to say something, but like, look, man, it's the principle. And we've been there before. Sometimes you got to stand on the principle. There's nothing worse, though, than when standing on the principle isn't a good idea.
Because you get more upset defending the principle than the actual event itself. Nah, he knew what he was doing. I'm not apologizing. No. Right. It's the principle. No, I'm not doing it.
Everybody's looking at you crazy, right? Because that's the thing. Once you get to the point of it's the principle, you say it's the principle in defiance of some level of good sense, right? Like, that only comes up when you're defying something that makes sense. It's the principle, man. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I hear you right now. But you got to feel where I'm coming from, and it's the principle. I've been there. I think I was just there a couple weeks ago, as a matter of fact. It's the principle. We all wind up in a situation with the principle. But, man, what's he going to do? I tell you, this tells me about Cam Chancellor also. Sounds like Cam Chancellor got a great financial planner. His bank game must be strong. To be able to afford this, his bank game must be crazy. Because he got, 3 years left on his contract?
Yeah.
They never cave on 3 years left on the contract.
But you know why he's doing it, though?
It's the principle.
It's the principle.
He also must live with his mom.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
Bomani.
Shannon, you ready for this? Patriots and the Bills, baby.
This is a big game for the Bills.
I think it's big for the Patriots, too. They just don't let on about it. I mean, they don't talk. How will we know? Like, they barely tell us anything. How will we know? Now, one thing I think is cool about this is the NFL changed those divisions up in 2002 and went to 4 divisions in each conference. Okay. Some of those divisions are just a little bit different than the others because the rivalries are just that real. Like in the AFC South, those are all rivalries created with the AFC South. NFC South, to a degree, like the only for real rivalry that you got there is Falcons and Saints. Is back in the day, the only way each of those teams could have anything to feel good about is by beating each other. Like at the end of the season, you'd be like, well, at least we didn't lose to the Saints. Like that's all they basically had going for them.
It's like winning a homecoming game.
That's exactly what it was. They play homecoming twice. You get your homecoming against us, we get your homecoming against y'all. That's what they would be. But like the AFC East, the AFC West, the NFC North, and the AFC North, like those rivalries are real, Jack. Even in the AFC North where the Ravens didn't come around until about 20 years ago, the rivalries are real there. So when you have a thing like with Rex Ryan stayed in that division. So Patriots-Jets was a thing before Rex Ryan got there. Patriots-Bills, I mean, I guess it mattered at some point. It's just that the Bills ain't been in the playoffs in long enough to be a really big thing. But I love these rivalries that are real like that. Like, this feels like a college week with that game.
That's great because so often in the NFL, they tell us that every game counts. We prepare for every game just the same. It's just another game to us. As Russell Wilson says, you got to have a 1-0 mentality. No, I'm tired of hearing that. Let us know that this game means more to you than the last one.
Yeah, have some fun with it, man. Because that's the thing. With me and Rex, I feel like people who have a problem with Rex Ryan are people with low self-esteem. Because why does his confidence bother you so much? Whether he has the right to be that confident or not. Okay, whatever. Why does that bother you so much? Like, I love the fact that he's like, look, we're not scared of them. Like, we're going to play them. We're going to do our best, but we're not scared of them. And most of those games that they played recently where Rex Ryan was the coach and they were going against the Patriots, they're within 3 points. Like, it's not like those blowouts. He's got one up on Belichick in the playoffs, even though they lost, what was it, like 51-3 a couple weeks before they played that playoff game? They got smoked in Foxborough. But I love this stuff. What, they selling pumps at the store now in Buffalo?
Yeah, you gotta inflate those balls, right?
If you buy one of those, by the way, like, are you a sucker? Like, is that the word?
Nah, they're gonna be buying them.
It's got to be, they got to have some kind of special logo with the date on it or something like that. Like, it's got to be like a T-shirt that you buy to commemorate having been at a big game. Like that time North Carolina beat Miami at football in 2004, they had them shirts out there, Jack, out there on Monday. I don't think they sold another one after Wednesday. Like, that's what that sort of thing is. People just going to have to keep that one. But I feel like if you buy that air pump at that stadium, you're the mark that keep the NFL going. Like, that's who you are. That's what you're about. But the game's going to be interesting. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, where the Steelers ran roughshod over the Patriots. Like, I'm curious what they're going to do, I mean, they being the Patriots, to kind of try to shore that up, because there is no Vince Wilfork. There's none. Like, in a league with really big dudes, there's a value on really, really, really big dudes that you just cannot move out of the way. Like, imagine that. So, what do you do for a living? I just stand still, bro. I make myself immobile.
I take up space so the linebackers can get all the tackles.
I am the immovable object. Like that's what Vince Wilfork is. I am the immovable object. I can be the irresistible force from time to time, but every time I have to be the immovable object.
Now, how do you feel about this game knowing that Shady McCoy is still dealing with his hamstring injury?
But that's the thing. I saw D'Angelo Williams run for 120-something yards against them last week, and I don't know if that's because D'Angelo Williams has still got it or if that's because the holes are just so big. So Buffalo's going to try to run the ball. Like, that's what it's going to be. The only thing, though, Tyrod, my brother, good luck with this one. Because Bill Belichick and a quarterback that doesn't have that much experience, like Tyrod's been in the league, but he ain't been out there. You know, it's not even they're coming. It's I have no idea what I'm looking at right now. Like, I thought y'all were going to be in a cover 3. But I don't like everything I thought I saw is no longer there. Like, that's going to be tricky. At least they get them at home, right?
Right, exactly. And Belichick has to be licking his chops. Like, yeah, fresh meat on the line.
All day. Like, every time Bill Belichick, I bet he just goes through his schedule and looks at, like, who are the quarterbacks? Like, man, let's go look at the Patriots schedule right now and just imagine, like, what games make Bill Belichick's eyes just get wide open, right? Like, as soon as
anybody got to you yet? No? Okay.
He's like, oh, man, this is money. Let's check this out. Oh, Blake Bortles next week. That's easy money, right?
Yeah.
Then they got Tony Romo, but they don't have any receivers. And then they got Andrew Luck. Ooh, then the Jets. I think Geno might be back by then. Ryan Tannehill. Ooh, Kirk Cousins on November the 8th.
Yikes.
How you think, Bill? I was about to say you might feel that way about seeing Eli Manning, except, Eli has demonstrated his ability to handle business against the New England Patriots.
Unless Eli's in self-check mode.
Now, how's Bill Belichick going to feel about Peyton Manning?
That's always personal. That's the one, Belichick actually gets up for that. We talk so much about the rec stuff, but he gets up for the matchup, the mind game, the chess game with Peyton Manning.
Right, but Peyton Manning's out there playing chess, but he only got 12 pieces. You know what I mean?
It's like I got a rook, and he just took my knight.
Ooh, he's going to get to see Marcus Mariota by the end of the year, and whoever the Texans throw out there, they might throw Ryan Mallett out there. Ryan, can you imagine how crazy Ryan Mallett's going to be driven the week that he plays against Bill Belichick, knowing Bill Belichick probably knows him better than he knows himself? Assuming Bill Belichick ever actually paid any attention to Ryan Mallett, actually. He might not know Ryan Mallett when he sees him. He's like, wow, you look like this tall guy who used to play for us. What was his name? Ryan? Yeah, you remind me a lot of him. It'll be one of those situations. Like, I can totally see that being the case. But I have a hard time just saying that Buffalo's going to win. Like, I think that defense is really good. But do they have a Gronk answer? You see, Rex Ryan said basically only King Kong could try to check Gronk one-on-one.
And he's probably right.
Right, but, like, what's your Gronk answer? Like, I don't know how you answer a tight end like that. Like, I have an understanding of the things that you do against against a dope wide receiver, right? People talk about rolling the safety over. What, you going to have 2 safeties on Gronk? You going to bracket him all game long with the linebacker?
You're going to leave your rookie Ronald Darby out there in single-man coverage in quarter?
Yikes. And he's just so big. There's just nothing you can do against that dude. There's absolutely nothing that you can do against that dude.
And he's healthy.
For now. Because that's the thing. It's entirely possible he's going to be hurt before too long. And, man, if that happens, everything goes haywire in that division. Like, if Gronk had to miss 6 weeks, how many games do you realistically think the Patriots could win if Gronk had to miss 6 weeks? Like, I think 4-2 would be an optimistic projection for 6 weeks without Gronk. But they do have him this week. I can't bet on the Bills. I can't pick that. Our man Cam Stewart is all heavy on the Bills. No, I get Tyrod against Bill Belichick, and he ain't never done this before. Nah, bro. Tell me this, though, Shannon. If Buffalo doesn't win, you think Tyrod's still going to be wearing one of them ridiculous get-ups? You saw he had one of those jackets on with no lapels on it like he Marcus Graham from Boomerang?
Look, when you become the starting quarterback, you got to dress ridiculous, right? That comes with the territory.
Actually, I thought you started dressing like a banker. Like, that's how it goes. Speaking of which, has Colin Kaepernick started wearing suits yet?
I don't know. Knowing Kaepernick, he'll probably come out there dressed in the new Kanye line.
Kaepernick's out there looking like he works at a tattoo parlor. Like, you can't do that but for so long. You just can't. We got the Cowboys and the Eagles coming up. Shannon, as a Giants fan, what are you rooting for? Nuclear war?
You have some games each week, and the NFL is really great at this, that are perfect for Twitter and following Twitter. And nothing will be better than following Twitter during an Eagles-Cowboys game on Sunday. That's just amazing. As a Giant fan, I can sit back and laugh at both fan bases. It'll be great. Can't wait.
Why? Because your team has won a Super Bowl in the last 20 years?
That too. Oh, a couple of them. That too.
You had to just drop a couple of them, didn't you? You just had to do that, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Well, it's hard to explain to people that, like, when we were younger, the NFC East was everything, right? Like, Washington won 3 championships in the 80s. The Giants won 1, and then in the 90s, the Giants won 1, and then Washington won 1, and then none of y'all won nothing for a very long time, and the Giants been kind of carrying the mantle. But basically, all the fun of the NFC East really is carrying on from back in the day when y'all were better than y'all are.
And then you had the Cowboys winning 3 in the 90s.
That's right. Forgot about that part.
And then the Eagles and then they got to.
See.
But it was that one year that they made it to.
See.
Got those NFC East crowns, though.
Dude, that's the thing about the Eagles, man. What's it like to be an Eagles fan? Because everybody lives all up on top of each other in that part of the country, right? So it's like they're like 2 hours away from D.C., like 2 hours away from New York. So everybody's right around each other. And the Eagles ain't won a championship since it was the NFL championship game. Like, that was the last time they got one. That's got to hurt.
Got those ring pops, though.
It's so harsh. It's so unfair. But so is life. Like, that's just what it is. But this game this week is going to be interesting because the Cowboys don't have any wide receivers. They just don't. Terrence Williams.
It's his time to shine.
It is his time to shine. I bet that's what he's telling himself. Like, that's the one thing about it. I don't think that there's a single wide receiver in the league that would not look forward. Like, not that they would want Dez Bryant to get hurt, but he's like, finally, I get to run all them good routes. Dez get all the good routes. They finally going to start looking at me.
I get the A routes now.
That's right. I am number one. 2 is not a winner. Look, but how does this go? Like, I'm trying to think of the last time that Tony Romo was out there with a wide receiving core like this. Has it ever been like that? And look, Jason Witten, he's old now. Like, do you view Jason Witten as a threat anymore?
Only when he's going up against the Giants. And it's still the end of the game, and the rookie linebacker doesn't realize that it's Jason Witten.
Yeah, like I see him as an option at this point, but not a threat per se.
Right.
So what are they supposed to do? Are they just going to run the ball on the Eagles over and over again?
And now that's where it gets interesting because we all know it's been widely said that the Cowboys have the best offensive line in the league, correct?
Yes.
And you needed to pay Dez, and you will. Or you did, excuse me, and you let DeMarco Murray walk, and you have running backs that you feel are interchangeable for the most part. Now it's time to prove how good that offensive line is, and the fact that you can just run anybody back there.
They had to run the ball, about 50 times? I mean, not 50, but they're going to have to run the ball a lot.
Right.
But I have to admit, I can't remember we've talked about it on this program before. I still think that this might be the year that Darren McFadden just finally breaks out. I've been saying that since 2008.
We're still waiting for this,
I don't know why. I just have a hard time believing that it just never came together. I mean, he had that one year he was really good. But I'm telling you, man, this could be the year that Derek McFadden puts it all together. This is not the year that Derek McFadden puts it all together. But I'm just telling you, this could be the year that Derek McFadden puts it all together. Everybody's got a guy that they just keep holding out hope for. Like, I'm telling you, it's not over, man. It's not over.
What happens first? Derek McFadden finally puts it all together, or Tiger wins another major?
I know you have to have a guy like that, right?
I have to think about that. Give me a second.
Like in basketball, I was the last guy to give up on Josh McRoberts. I just thought he was going to put it all together. It never happened. It never did. Derek McFadden has not averaged more than 3.4 yards a carry since 2011, Shannon. And in that year, he only played 7 games. But I still think this might be the year that he puts it all together. I think Jerry Jones might think it's still the year he puts it all together, too. I mean, they're Arkansas guys. He's probably holding out more irrational hope than I am.
Well, I would hope so, but McFadden's always been the injuries. That's been big, and that's been key. He hasn't been playing behind the best offensive lines with Oakland. I'm not trying to sit here and make excuses, but he has those factors. I would like for it to happen.
I appreciate you doing your best there to try to make me seem a little bit less silly. Like, I think that you're a really good friend for that. I really have to say.
I try.
Thank you so much. But here's the question, though. Like, are the Cowboys going to have to win some games on defense? Like, is that what it's going to take? Because their defense last year, they were playing the game last year where our defense is okay because we forced turnovers. Like, that's what it was. They were second in the league last year in takeaways. We're going to be okay because we forced turnovers. Unfortunately, we might let you get a lot of yards.
Right. That's going to happen. They're going to give up yards. The key, I guess, for Dallas is going to be the bend but don't break, you know?
Right, because I'm trying to figure out how many points a game can they score this without Dez Bryant in the lineup. And look, That Dez Bryant fracture in his foot apparently is not so dissimilar to the one that Kevin Durant had. And from what I was reading, the issue with healing on a bone, that bone breaking, the fifth metatarsal, is it's difficult for blood to get there after it breaks. So the healing process is then stunted, and guys tend to come back and their feet wind up breaking again. Like, that's how it goes. And a dude like Dez, you got to be careful because it takes everything to stop him from playing, right? So any whiff of a chance to play that you give him, he's going to play, which makes it very easy for him to break his foot again. So how many points a game could this team realistically score without Dez Bryant? And realistically, how few points a game can the Cowboys give up?
All right, so with Dez Bryant out, who is it on? Is it on the offense? Is it on the defense? Is it on Romo? Is it on the line? Is it a combination of all of those factors?
Well, I guess it's going to be on Romo, but I guess to a degree it should be on Romo because Romo's the guy that makes all the paper, right? I mean, is that fair?
He is elite, Bomani.
I mean, and the truth is, he's so good, except for the times that he's not. But when he's good, he's really, 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 really good. One thing of note, by the way, Shannon, based on point differential, last year the Cowboys' expected record was like 10.5 wins and 5.5 losses. They wound up going 12-4, which is to say that they outperformed their point totals for the season. Like, statistically speaking, their record implied a certain bit of luck last year. And that's with Dez Bryant. So I have no idea what it is. Can you win in the NFL now just running the ball down people's throats? Because for Romo's sake, who can get open? Like, what are you supposed to do if nobody can get open? How many times can you throw the ball to Jason Witten for 6-7 yards down the field? I mean, how many?
Right, you can't be throwing those out routes to Jason Witten all game long.
No, you can't. Like, this is what Chip Kelly and the Eagles needed. They're coming off a short week. It was not a great showing by the coach in the last game. There were questions about the offensive line and everything else. At least you don't have to see Dez Bryant.
If you're Byron Maxwell, at least you don't have to see Dez.
Ooh, let's get a look, by the way, at who Byron Maxwell has to go see after this, skating away from having to see Dez Bryant, because that worked out very well for him. Let's see who he gets to see the week after. Oh, Brandon Marshall in week 3, Shannon.
Well, that's probably the most physically imposing wide receiver in the league.
Oh, he's got a nice little break. And then he gets Washington, and then he gets the Saints, and I don't think the Saints have any one guy for him to worry about, and then he gets Odell Beckham. But after that, he gets to play against Carolina. And the Cowboys' wide receiver core right now, compared to Carolina, it's like the Cowboys got Swan and Stallworth. They got Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and Jake Reed, compared to them civilians that the Panthers are out there throwing out. Was Kachi the number one in Carolina?
Philly Brown is the number one wide receiver. For
Cam Newton don't want to hear no complaining. No complaining from Tony Romo. You hear me? Not a whiff of complaining from Tony Romo. He's like, look, Dez Bryant ain't coming back to me. No matter what happens, ain't going to be no Dez Bryant out here. I'm out here with some dudes. Like some regular dudes. The kind of dudes that need to get jobs in the offseason because ain't nothing promised to you.